Biden and his son are stone cold crooked, and you know it. His son walks out with millions of dollars. The kid knows nothing. You know it, and so do we. Go ahead, ask a question.
But the question, sir, was what did you want President Zelensky to do about Vice President Biden and his son Hunter?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it was just a follow-up of what I just asked you, sir.
Listen, you ready? We have the President of Finland. Ask him a question.
I have one for him. I just wanted to follow up on the one that I asked you, which
did
was,
you hear
what
me?
did you want
Did you hear me?
Yes,
ask
sir.
him a question.
I will, but
I've given you a long answer. Ask this gentleman a question. Don't be rude.
No, sir, I don't want to be rude. I just wanted you to have a chance to answer the question that I asked you.
I've answered everything. It's a whole hoax. And you know who's playing into the hoax? People like you and the fake news media that we have in this country. And I say in many cases, the corrupt media, because you're corrupt. Much of the media in this country is not just fake, it's corrupt. And you have some very fine people, too. Great journalists, great reporters. But to a large extent, it's corrupt and it's fake. Ask the President of Finland a question, please.
皆さん、明けましておめでとうございます。今年もロボット音声で申し訳ありませんが、よろしくお願いいたします。昨年12月28日、ウクライナ政府がジョー・バイデン氏を告発しているという内容の記事が公開されました。1時間以上の会見動画も公開されていましたので、その一部と、このウクライナの問題を1年前は各メディアがどのように報じていたかを今回は見ていきたいと思います。6日の上下院合同会議も差し迫っている中、何を今更ウクライナ問題かと思われるかもしれませんが、これも意味あることになるかもしれませんので、ご視聴いただければ嬉しく思います。公開された情報は、当時のウクライナ大統領であったポロシェンコ氏とアメリカ副大統領であったバイデン氏による数十億ドル規模に及ぶ汚職のスキーム、銀行口座情報などのお金の流れ、電話会談録音など多岐にわたります。バイデン氏は多数の汚職により、2020年5月、ウクライナの裁判所指令で告発されています。会見は、ウクライナの捜査当局の資料に基づいて、ウクライナの国会議員、アンドレ・デルカチ氏が行いましたが、この会見で、これらの調査は、ウクライナの国会議員から、ゼレンスキー大統領とトランプ大統領の双方に依頼されていたことが明らかにされました。
来年のアメリカ大統領選挙での民主党の有力候補バイデン前副大統領がウクライナのエネルギー関連企業から90万ドル、日本円でおよそ9600万円を受け取っていた可能性があることが分かりました。これはウクライナ議会のデルカチ議員が会見で明らかにしました。バイデン氏と関係があると指摘されているアメリカの企業の口座にウクライナのエネルギー関連企業から相談料として90万ドルが振り込まれたということです。デルカチ氏はこの情報についてウクライナの捜査当局の資料に基づくものだとしています。バイデン氏はオバマ前政権で副大統領だった際、ウクライナ問題を取り仕切っていたほか、息子のハンター氏はこのウクライナのエネルギー関連企業で役員を務めていました。
And I'm not looking to hurt Biden, but he said a very bad thing. He said a very foolish thing. Now me, on the other hand, my conversation with the president, the new president of Ukraine, was perfect. It was a warm, friendly conversation.
一方、トランプ大統領をめぐっては、来年の大統領選挙を有利に進めるため、軍事支援の見返りにバイデン氏に打撃を与える情報を調査するようウクライナの首脳に圧力をかけた疑惑が持たれていて、アメリカ議会で弾劾をするかどうか調査が進んでいます。こうした中、バイデン氏は9日、トランプ大統領について任期満了前に罷免するよう訴えました。
Donald Trump has violated his oath of office, betrayed this nation, and committed impeachable acts. He should be impeached.
Of an impeachable offense.
An impeachment proceeding.
With an official impeachment inquiry.
アメリカのトランプ大統領が大統領選挙のライバルであるバイデン前副大統領への捜査を進めるようウクライナに圧力をかけた疑惑について、 ウクライナの大統領は完全否定しました。
Я не хочу втручатися ніяким чином у вибори незалежної країни під назвою Сполучені Штати Америки.
ゼレンスキー大統領は10日のインタビューで、トランプ大統領から脅迫を受けた事実はないと明言しました。アメリカの下院では、トランプ大統領がウクライナへの軍事支援を再開する見返りに、バイデン氏に関する汚職疑惑の捜査を進めるよう、ウクライナ側に依頼したとして、弾劾調査が進められています。ゼレンスキー氏はこの点について、アメリカの軍事支援再開はおろか、支援が止まっていたことすら知らなかったと主張しました。
But in this case, the White House, the president is the subject of the complaint.
このウクライナ疑惑でトランプ大統領の弾劾裁判に向けてとりわけ執拗に熱心に報道していたのは BBC でした。
Ukraine finds itself at the center of America's impeachment investigation after Donald Trump repeatedly asked his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate the family of the former Vice President Joe Biden. It's a complicated story, even for those of us who are following it every day. So here's a quick rundown of what we do and we don't know. So, what were the Bidens doing in Ukraine in 2015?
We've stepped up with official assistance to help backstop the Ukrainian economy.
Well, Joe was the vice president and the focal point of American policy, so he visited often.
Burisma is the lead.
His son, Hunter, was the well-paid director of a controversial energy company called Burisma, which has links to the pro-Russian government which had just been overthrown. At the time, some people said that that was a conflict of interest. So, did Joe Biden get Ukraine's prosecutor general, a man called Viktor Shokin, sacked? Well, he certainly boasted about it. This is him speaking last year.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Got fired.
So, what's President Trump saying about it? Well, he wants Ukraine to investigate whether there's a link between the sacking of Mr. Shokin and Hunter Biden's company.
But what he said is that he wouldn't give, I think it was billions of dollars to Ukraine unless they fired the prosecutor who was looking at his son and his son's company, the company that his son worked with. And that's a very dishonest thing.
So, is there any evidence to support what President Trump is saying? If there is, well, we haven't seen it yet.
But it is not true that Prosecutor Shokin was a tough prosecutor who was willing to investigate Burisma. Absolutely to the contrary. Prosecutor Shokin was dumping this investigation, and I have evidence of that. I'm following this investigation since 2014. Shokin, his predecessor, and the next prosecutor after Shokin, Yuri Lutsenko, they all were contributing to killing this case.
So there's no evidence that suggests that Vice President Biden acted differently because his son was on the board of a Ukrainian energy company, Burisma.
I haven't seen this evidence.
Joe, I have a second positive news for you. Yesterday, I met with the General Prosecutor Shokin.
Yes.
I especially asked him, no, it was the day before yesterday. I especially asked him to resign. As his position as a state person, and despite of the fact that he has a support in the parliament. And as a finish of my meeting with him, he promised me to give me the statement on resignation. And 1 hour ago, he bring me the written statement of his resignation.
I've seen the actions which show absolutely the contrary what happened.
So why then did Joe Biden want the Prosecutor General sacked? Well, at the time there was widespread consensus among international donors like the IMF and the EU, and also locally here among activists, that Mr. Shokin was an obstacle to the fight against corruption and that he had to go.
And I told Mr. Giuliani, okay, if you start your investigation in the United States, we can officially help you. According to international law, we will give you legal international assistance through requests, question and answer, or through joint investigation team.
But I'm going to ask you again. Have you got any evidence that Joe Biden acted in any way which supported Hunter Biden's company, Burisma?
It is not my jurisdiction.
But have you got any?
It is not my jurisdiction. I can't do nothing which
Because
is not connected with Ukrainian law.
So under Ukrainian law, you've got nothing?
Nothing, certainly.
President Joe Biden, how are you? Very well indeed. As usual when I hear your voice. Thank you very much. Well, you are doing very well. Congratulations on getting the new prosecutor general. I know, man of my word, and that now that the new prosecutor general is in place, we're ready to move forward in signing that new $1 billion loan guarantee. And I don't know how you want to go about that. First of all, thank you very much indeed for these words of support. Believe me that it was very tough challenge and very difficult job. And Mrs. Timoshenko and Mr. Leshko faction tried to break this because we not only voted for the new prosecutor general, which we do in a very short period of time, within one day we changed the law.
There are few actions as consequential as the impeachment of a president.
まだまだ BBC は熱心に弾劾報道を続けます。
It's not often a U.S. president faces being kicked out of office, but this is the situation President Donald Trump finds himself in. Let's get back to basics.
They've been trying to impeach me from the day I got elected. I've been going through this for 3 years.
Being impeached is when charges of wrongdoing are brought against a president by the lower chamber of the U.S. Congress, called the House of Representatives.
I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry.
It all centres on whether Trump sought help from Ukraine to boost his chances of re-election in the 2020 presidential election. How? By pressuring Ukraine's president to investigate one of his main Democratic challengers, Joe Biden, and his son Hunter. Hunter was on the board of a Ukrainian company when his dad was US vice president. You might have heard a lot about a whistleblower reporting a phone call which claimed to show this happened.
There was no quid pro quo.
You read it that nobody pushed me, yes.
In other words, no pressure.
Corrupt Ukrainians.
Ukrainian authorities, Ukraine.
Donald Trump is being impeached, and for some reason, it's all about this place, Ukraine. But how come? We're more than 5,000 miles from Washington. It's a complicated story about corruption, conspiracy theories, and Russia. And it all begins with a phone call. On July the 25th last year, Ukraine's new president, Volodymyr Zelensky, spoke to Donald Trump. Mr. Zelensky wanted to discuss American military assistance.
ゼレンスキー氏はこの点について、アメリカの軍事支援再開はおろか、支援が止まっていたことすら知らなかったと主張しました。
But Mr. Trump said he wanted a favor. President Trump was withholding hundreds of millions of dollars of military aid. His opponents smelled a rat. He said the president was abusing his power, using his office for personal political gain.
I solemnly and sadly open the debate on the impeachment of the President of the United States.
They like to use the impeach word, impeach Trump.
Impeachment under the Constitution is no easy thing. You have to allege high crimes and misdemeanors to impeach a president in the House, and then you've got to prove it in the Senate. The process is meant to be demanding and difficult, and more importantly, rare. The framers wanted to be certain that you didn't have these impulse removals of presidents, an easy process by which partisan votes could occur. Now, the House of Representatives needs only a simple majority. A democratically controlled House could most certainly impeach a president, particularly a Republican one, if they can establish high crimes and misdemeanors. The Senate requires a supermajority, and that is where presidents historically have been saved. That President Trump could be convicted in a Senate with a majority of Republicans when you need a supermajority. There's a bunch of complicating factors, but one thing is clear. It's not enough just to hate a president, and it's not enough to disagree with the president, even on the most important aspects of the Constitution.
How do you impeach somebody that's doing a great job, that hasn't done anything wrong?
In this article of impeachment, 48 senators have pronounced Donald John Trump, President of the United States, guilty as charged. 52 senators have pronounced him not guilty as charged. 2/3 of the senators present not having pronounced him guilty, the Senate adjudges that the respondent, Donald John Trump, President of the United States, is not guilty as charged in the first article of impeachment. On this article of impeachment, 47 senators have pronounced Donald John Trump, President of the United States, guilty as charged. 53 senators have pronounced him not guilty as charged. 2/3 of the senators present not having pronounced him guilty, the Senate adjudges that respondent, Donald John Trump, President of the United States, is not guilty as charged in the second article of impeachment. The presiding officer directs judgment to be entered in accordance with the judgment of the Senate as follows. The Senate, having tried Donald John Trump, President of the United States, upon 2 articles of impeachment exhibited against him by the House of Representatives, and 2/3 of the senators present not having found him guilty of the charges contained therein, it is therefore ordered and adjudged that the said Donald John Trump be, and he is hereby, acquitted of the charges in said articles.
Where are you from?
BBC.
Okay. Here's another beauty.
It's a good line. Impartial, free and fair.
Yeah, sure.
Mr. President.
Just like CNN, right?
Democrat presidential candidate and former Vice President Joe Biden finds himself in more hot water this week. Just confirmed, a Ukrainian court ordered Joe Biden to be formally listed in a criminal case. The crime? The alleged firing of Ukraine's former prosecutor general Viktor Shokin in exchange for dropping an investigation into Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and the company for which he was a board member, Burisma Oil. Shokin formally called for an investigation into his firing back in February of 2020, claiming the Ukrainian government at the time relieved Shokin of his post in exchange for $1 billion in loan guarantees promised by Biden, a bribe Biden himself admitted to doing.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
But at the time Shokin called for this case back in February, the courts listed one of the defendants as an unnamed American, an individual widely understood to be Joe Biden, Obama's Ukraine point man. But Biden was never formally named. Now, the courts have ruled it is improper to conceal Biden's name and that there is sufficient evidence to proceed with an investigation. The ruling cannot be appealed. Another key development in this story is the release of a series of telephone conversations that has garnered major questions. Andrei Derkach, a member of parliament in Ukraine, in a press conference Tuesday released what he says appear to be voice recordings of then Secretary of State John Kerry, Vice President Joe Biden, and then President of Ukraine, Poroshenko, discussing the Burisma case and discussing the removal of Viktor Shokin. Neither Kerry, Biden, nor Poroshenko have affirmed the verity of these recordings. The recordings appear to have been leaked from government officials and whistleblowers, but are currently being verified. Ukrainian President Zelensky stated he anticipates more developments over the course of the summer and says the case could qualify as high treason. Candidate Biden has yet to respond to this latest development. Chanel Rion, One America News, the White House.
Petro, I miss talking to you every week. How are you, my friend?
Very well indeed. All the time when I meet with my team, I mention you, your phrase about father founder of the nation. You should know that you are very famous and very popular.
Зеленский на стадионе кричит про приговор, а бывший вице-президент США вылизывает мальдивского патриота, называя его отцом нации, и предлагает писать про него поэмы. Действительно, про Петра Алексеевича и Байдена можно писать поэмы. Единственное уточнение, мы надеемся, эти поэмы будут напечатаны в материалах уголовных дел. Теперь же расскажем, как именно Злочевский совместно с Порошенко, по мнению журналистов-расследователей, воровал деньги украинцев, завышая тарифы и воруя через прокладки. Давайте вспомним, как чех с похожим на голосом похожим на Порошенко радостно рапортовал своему старшему товарищу экс-вице-президенту США Джо Байдену о том, что поднял тарифы не на 75, как просил Байден, а на целых 100%.
Biden and his son are stone cold crooked, and you know it. His son walks out with millions of dollars. The kid knows nothing.